Welcome everybody to the Namibian House, to the World Economic Forum 2022, powered by nature. And we're back here again to have a discussion about the tourism industry. And our panel of experts here today, Honorable Pohamba Shafita, Minister of Tourism, thank you for joining us. We have our policymaker, Mr. Sebelon Chikalu, Director of Tourism and Gaming in the Ministry of Tourism. Thank you for being with us today and sharing your thoughts and ideas. Then we have our regulator and promotion agency director. He's CEO Dihu Ngawabeb. He's the director and CEO for Namibia Tourism Board. It's always good to see you here and to hear more about what we can do with our tourism industry in Namibia and all the challenges and exciting strides that we've made. In the private sector, someone who has been a champion for tourism and for investment in Namibia, Mr. Sven Tima, Executive Chairman of O&L Group. Thank you for joining us and for sharing with us your ideas. And then in the public sector, we have the operator NWR, Mr. Matthias Ngwanwama, Managing Director of Namibia Wildlife Resorts. Thank you for joining us today. I know that you just arrived, so I'm very happy that you made it on time. And welcome to all our viewers and listeners here with us today. You couldn't be in Davos, but you certainly are sharing with us through these panel discussions the excitement that Namibia has to share with the world and all the wonderful investment opportunities here. So really, the purpose of this panel today, this discussion, is about discussing the present strategic investment opportunities, as I mentioned, in the tourism sector, and for the government to have the representatives here to really talk about the tourism recovery strategy in the sector. And so, we are now joined here today, as we say, with our leaders, the stakeholders in this industry that make everything happen. And so without further ado, I'd like to call on Honourable Minister to come and say a few words. Thank you, Minister Shafita.
Thank you. I see I have to just, with you, I'm vertically challenged. I have to adjust this one. Thank you, Michelle. Please welcome to the Namibian House, those who are present here and those who are joining us online. My task is just to introduce this topic and just an appetizer. I have 7 here. I have Sebron, Digu, and of course Kongwame. They will be able to go into details. The Namibian tourism sector is one of the fastest sectors in Namibia until 2020. That is now before the genesis of corona pandemic. But before that, we had a very upward trajectory in terms of growth, growing with about 15% annually. Then we had a very devastating pandemic that put our sector on standstill. But now we are on the recovery stage. We could now experience growth a bit. Last year, then 2020, and this year, it is giving a very positive signs. The contribution to the GDP, this sector, is about 16% until that time of 2020. And we expect this to recover. The signs are there that we will recover, and if not soon, it will be later. But we are very resilient. The job creation in this sector is equal to agriculture in Namibia, which is contributing a very big portion in terms of employment in Namibia. Our tourism and environmental protection in Namibia are inextricably linked. Why I'm saying so, our protection of environment, which is in fact in our constitution, Article 95L. And I like citing that article because it has encompassed a lot many things. Our legislations, our policies are derivative of that article. That's why yesterday, or a day before yesterday, I got a call from one of the journalists. She's from one of the international media house, asking me about, it is in fact before I left Namibia, asking me about this green hydrogen. Apparently she heard that it's taking place in a protected area. I answered, yes, it's taking place there. Why? Now, why do you have to destroy a protected area? I answered her, you know how big is that protected area? And I asked her again, you know how big is Namibia? The land mass, the total land mass of Namibia. No, I don't know. I said, just Google and find out how big is Namibia. So it's bigger than many of European countries put together. And here we are talking about a portion, not even 1% that you are taking out of that. And I used the analogy, I said, if you have 100 eggs in your basket, now you're hungry, and you want a scrambled egg, what will you do? Will you swallow an egg, or you have to crack it? Now I have to crack it. You have to crack it in order to eat, to save yourself. Now out of 100 eggs, because we are talking about a very small portion, and that area is partly not a virgin land, because we are talking of the area where mining activity has been taking place. I know the area well, and it's under this ministry. And we were just making a very calculated decision. And we did not, when this green hydrogen came up, we did not procrastinate our decision. So we decided we have to go for it because it is part of environmental protection. And also it's part of our commitment to our international institutions. We have a Paris agreement. We have Paris agreement, for instance. We have to reduce CO2. So, and that is part of it, because we have to make sure that with this green hydrogen, we'll be able to decarbonize our energy sector. And we have already made commitment. Our last contribution that we have given to the UN, that is nationally determined contribution. We have made a commitment, a very ambitious commitment, that we are going to, by 2030, we are going to reduce our energy production. Our energy production will be reduced, especially it will be more of renewable energy, 90%. So, and with this, we are just going to achieve that even before 2030. And that is, in fact, a coincidence that let's arrive. So these two are inextricably, there is a green hydrogen in Namibia is in a bigger plan. Now, all these activities that we are taking, we are embarking upon, they are part of SDG. So therefore, there's nothing wrong doing that. And it's in fact good that we are going to have water desalination plant, and we are going to make sure that we have agricultural activity for food security. Now, all these things are part of that. There's nothing wrong to do that. So then she was convinced a bit, but she still had bad, because sometimes people don't believe that we can take rational decisions. So when you're that part of the world. But we take these rational decisions. And I said, sometimes I tell people why we have our wild animals thriving is because of our rational decisions, our commitments as a nation, and we are talking about having largest population of many of our wild species in the world. cheetah. We have the largest population of cheetah. If anyone wants to see cheetah, very fastest animal on the earth, you come to Namibia. So we have the largest population of them. So in fact, there are many. They are troubling us. We have the largest population of black rhino. It's a very important animal, protected animal in the world, special protected. Elephants, we don't know what to do with them. Our facilities are full, not only national facilities, national parks, but also private farmers. Their facilities are full. We do not know what to do. In fact, our research, we did a study and we had to make sure that every year, if we don't take out of Namibia about 250 to 350 elephants out, we will have a problem. Human-wildlife conflict will escalate. So all these things are done concurrently. Protection of our environment and also our tourism. So that's why we combine that non-consumptive and the consumptive utilization of our natural resources. Now, for our visitors, you are guaranteed of many things. Excitement. When you come to Namibia, you see so many things. Apart from wildlife that I spoke about, we have all the big five. Those who have been to Namibia, they can tell story. And sometimes I tell the people who visit Namibia, now I'm only here 3 days. Now 3 days, you know, when you talk about, and they want to see everything. I said, the animals are not in the zoo. You will not be able to see everything in 3 days. Because we have so many species that you don't have there, and we have them in plenty. So if you want to have an exciting tour, take at least 3 weeks. Because then you can start from Windhoek or wherever, then you go to the south and see the landscape there. You see our living desert. We have 2 deserts. Karari Desert and the Nami Desert. Living desert, where you find even animals there. People wonder what they eat, especially the big game like oryx. Oryx is very, very amazing animal. Some people just see that as a game for meat. They're used to meat. Oryx is a very special animal. It can go for a year without drinking. One will ask why. It can live there in the desert. You see them there. Yesterday there was a picture of an elephant, oryx on the dune. And we have those very largest dunes in the world. You find them there in that area. That area of the south, in the Namibian House, and also our Dorop National Park. You find all this. And it's very exciting for you to just go there on top of the sand dunes. Our largest sand dunes in the world, you find there. And also you maybe pass River Canyon, our second largest river canyon in the world. You pass there, very exciting tour. And you see all these desert plant and desert insect. And that's why there's a story of, if you can survive like a desert insect, then you are a survivor. You can endure. Now, when you wake up in the morning, you see those desert insects, how they do. If you are very curious to see what is happening in the desert of Namibian desert, you will see all these things. It's a living desert. Now you have to go now and to the forest area where you find the wild animals. So then from there you go, you continue and see beautiful landscape and the cultural exciting activities where you pass through those villages, and you have cultural villages as well. It's very exciting to pass there. Now, in Namibia, after this, we are still in the middle of COVID-19, although now we are trying to recover. We have put up a very important plan, that is a national tourism recovery plan, which we are now. It is we are going to launch this year, 2022 to 2024, just to make sure that we recovered from the devastating COVID-19 pandemic. And we are board on that. We have put up strategic programs to make sure that we recover from this. And we are pretty much sure that comes 2-3 years, we might surpass 1.5 million tourist arrivals as we had on 2019, and we might surpass that because we already see the signs of people coming. They are very yearning to come to Namibia. Every time I come to the international airport, planes are full. So, and I have been pitting the tourism sector and travel sector, so in Namibia, that it has been really devastating. But now we are recovering. So now we can talk business. Now everybody is welcome, because Namibia, what we have done is that apart from some few days that we have to put up very restrictions, we did not really put much restrictions. As long as the other markets are open up, we opened Namibia market. I mean, Namibia is a destination. What we have done is to come up with a very good plan, and also to come up with a travel protocols. And we agreed with the WHO that we need, for Namibia, with our Ministry of Health, we worked on something, this travel protocol, and it helped to have our travelers, our visitors, to come to Namibia and be safe and feel safe. Now Namibians, our tourists can arrive, they are safe, that because we have protocols, COVID protocols that are there, and we had not really, after that, many cases. And it is safe. You as long as you are vaccinated, in Namibia, welcome. We don't ask many things from you. So you just come and enjoy Namibia. And I always ask people that if you have been to Africa and you have not been to Namibia, you are missing something. If you heard about beauty of Africa and you have not been to Namibia, you did not see the beauty of Africa. So you must feel the beauty of Namibia by coming to Namibia and spend days there. All tourists that I met who came to Namibia, they appreciated that. They all say, I will come back. Especially I like them coming with children, because children, I like them. Children are good marketing age group, because when they come to Namibia, when they go back, they always say, give their parents tough time. We want to go there where we found many, many animals. So we want to go and see, get on the sand dunes. So I like that. Come with your children, because we appreciate that, because children, they market very well, and they make you to come back. So Namibian tourism and travel we have opportunities, investment opportunities there. And I want us to look at that, and we have so many opportunities. And apart from investing in hotels, lodges, in the wider tourism-related activities, programs, you can invest in, for instance, hunting, conferencing, and the adventure tourism, sport tourism. There's so many activities that you can invest in, programs and projects that you can take up. And also they can come in the joint venture with our communal conservancies, whether in terms of consumptive or non-consumptive activities. We have about 6 communal conservancies, and that marks up almost about close to 20% of our land mass. Just communal conservancies. Now, when you add that with other protected areas like our national parks, 20 national park and game reserves, you talk about 43% of our land mass. And with our private game reserve, we're talking about 43% for our land mass. It's under protection. So plus then 43 community forests. So all these are protected land. So 43% is a very huge area. So Namibia, we're talking about 824 square kilometers, 1,000 square kilometers, 824, more than that. So 1,000 square kilometers. So that, if you take out that 43%, it's a huge part of the land under protection. So therefore, when you take a small portion and say, look, we want to utilize this portion, and you want to make sure that that is a vehicle that can propel us to our destination, that is to decarbonize our energy sector, and to make sure that we have food security, achieve food security, and also employment creation, which all of these are in the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So we want to achieve that. And you want just to kill two birds with one stone. And although we don't kill birds in Namibia, unless you have a permission to do so. So it is just something that we can do. So with that, I want to give it to Michelle, and please, in details, my colleagues here will then elaborate, and I just want to invite everybody who up there, who never been to Namibia, to come and visit Namibia. Namibia is very safe, peaceful people, and security is there, and you just get a very exciting moment that you have never experienced in your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Shafita. You can see that your passion shines through. We're just so grateful that you're at the helm of the ship that drives this tourism ministry, because I've been able to spend a bit of time with you traveling to Lüderitz, as well as with our wonderful Mr. Chikalu, and it really is evident how passionate you are. So for those of you who've joined us just recently, the viewers, and those of you right here at Namibian House, we are here discussing the wonderful aspects about the tourism in our country, not only the challenges, but also the great strides that we've made. I'm Michelle McLean, your moderator. I'm a very proud ambassador for Namibia. I'm also a consultant for NIPDB, and driving investment in tourism is one of my greatest passions. I'm also a global brand ambassador for the Althaven List Group, and as we know, they are champions of investment and tourism in Namibia too. So without further ado, we'd like to discuss a little bit more the strategy of what our government is going to be doing in terms of the recovery of tourism in our country due to the pandemic that we've had. We've had droughts recently. So without further ado, Mr. Chikalu, please join us up here. Thank you.
Michelle, thank you so much. Honorable Minister and other ministers present, and all dignitaries and all protocol observed. Thank you so much. I just want to share, it's a combination of a presentation, basically, partly areas of investment that are required, and then I'll just take an extract of the tourism recovery plan, things that matters towards creating the conducive environment for investment in tourism. Okay, let's see. All right, and these are just few areas that I'm going to speak about, or the presentation covers. We're taking 2019 subsector split, just sharing how it was before, of course, COVID, converged on the societies. And then we're going to take few extracts from the tourism recovery plan, and that actually has to do with the government effort in making sure that tourism grows and thrives. And then opening up tourism value chain for the youth entrepreneurs and the youth of Africa. And then I'll just share again in a summary note in terms of areas of opportunities. And then I'll highlight CASA, that I think private sector can take up opportunities that are coming. And then the cruise line industry as well. I think my previous colleagues had spoken about cruise line industry, especially the NAMPort. And thank you so much for speaking and creating or planning to create, certain infrastructure that support that. And then I have a detailed opportunities in the community-based tourism development, but I'm not going to bother you much. I'm just going to highlight where they are, and then the presentation will be definitely availed for those who want to invest in those areas. All right. Exploring opportunities in Namibia's natural treasures. Indeed, it's true that Namibia is comparably one of Africa's premier tourism or nature-based tourism destination. We can say that with great confidence because of the sound policies that the government has put in place and protect the basis of tourism, which is in nature. It's landscapes and entire biodiversity. Of course, the minister has alluded to the protected areas, which is combined 43% of the landmass. And we can actually equally say in confidence that Namibia hosts some of the biggest, oldest, and the most spectacular parks on our planet Earth. It's amazing if we were to discover, amazing if you were to understand those parks and protected areas. From afar, you may say, but why are they protecting an empty land? But actually, if you dig deeper there, you realize why we have to protect those landmass. So this is 2019 registered businesses in Namibia then. Of course, could be a different story now because of COVID. But equally, it's good to share what was it when it was best during that time. So they are split in those manners in terms of out of probably below 4,000 registered businesses then, and those are the percentages split over there. I want to highlight conference area. You'll see me highlighting it as well as we go through, and then a few other areas that are coming over there as well, just to share with the potential investors. Well, let's start from where the government efforts are. I call it deleting the barriers and creating environment for growth. Through the Tourism Recovery Plan 2022-2024, as my minister has just alluded to. Now, at the start, and when COVID came, in the middle of COVID, government introduced what we call issuing of visas upon arrival for tourists and business travelers. That's in 2020 already, June. For me, I think that's a foresight and a good foresight for a government, that in the middle of this pandemic, you're still looking forward and opening up a door for tourism, both and business for that matter. Now that program will be improved, working with the various partners, various ministries, to expand it and to continue that flexible visa regime just to allow for ease access of Namibia by our business, potential business investors, and also for tourists. So that program is continuing, and we're just working with the investment board as well and the rest of the other stakeholders in public sector to see how we could actually expand it, because that has been one of the barriers in reaching Namibia, the issue of visa. So secondly, looking at CASA, this is where tourism is going in Namibia and basically the 5 other countries. Everything, equal, Namibia will sign on the CASA Uni Visa to join Zambia and Zimbabwe in making it easy for tourists really to roam around that place or to move around the 5 countries, especially now with 3 countries, and then, of course, hoping that Botswana and Angola later will join in the tourism Uni Visa. Those are initiatives that are going on and as part of the tourism recovery plan. And of course, we cannot forget that, COVID has taught us the lesson that we need to expand our domestic market and Africa market. Africa market is big, the population, but out of it, if you can look at the travel and tourism part of that, So we're working on developing and expanding both the domestic tourism market and then the Africa market, so that we can make it really more resilient hereafter for businesses that are investing in there to continue even there is another shock that's coming in the market. Well, and then the last one here really it's expanding and promoting business events. Well, we can actually say we have the best infrastructure, and my colleagues have spoken earlier, they have said it. It's actually, we don't speak about it in itself, but we've hosted major and events, international events, that went successful. And then we also hosted last year with the UN WTO another Africa branding conference in there. So what we are saying is, making tourism resilient, we're now pushing the business events so that then companies all over the place, associations of various industries, can actually converge in Windhoek in doing their business events, whether meetings, conferences, and all their professional meetings that they may have. All right. Now, under this, we are continuing because when we look at it, we have a lot of repeating tourists coming. I mean, if we look at the statistics prior to COVID. So therefore, one of the highlights in the tourism recovery plan, we are developing and continue to develop new tourism routes and expand tourism offering, and starting with the national parks. I mean, the Honorable Minister just mentioned how large some of these parks are. But what we are looking at, there are other areas that were not really accessible for tourism, and we're now opening up and creating routes there. The reasons are so that we're able to, what I call increase the guest experience really in traveling there. So that then the person who came twice in Namibia, when he comes the third time or she comes the third time, is not going the same route again, but they find a new route. It must be interesting every time that you get there, and you must get to see new things as well. And with that, and with the good relationship we have with a few other countries, Kaiser being one, and there is AS Rechtersveld with South Africa, and there is also Iona with Angola, we are also now developing new cross-border tourism products and services. So that when you go to Namibia, you just not end in Namibia, but you can able then to say, well, I can cross over to South Africa, I can cross over to Angola, but on a tourism trip, and I cross over to Zambia or Botswana or Zimbabwe on a tourism trip, but you just land in Namibia, and we make it accessible there. So those are initiatives that we are working on. And then the last one, of course, my colleague from the airports company, and those that are probably coming after me, will speak about improving air access to Namibia and tourism destination. Announcement was made that Qatar is coming in, again, just to availing or expanding more seats availability, or international seats availability in flying into Namibia, and probably hoping that we can have more of these, airlines, joining up with Namibia in expanding that particular market. Three other things I want to plug out of the tourism recovery plan is increasing the tourism market intelligence through statistics as well. Again, through COVID and even before that, and even now, much better, that we have to work to have data at our hand more frequently for better planning. We cannot wait for a year or 2 years to have data for our planning. Now, in that, we just launched, before we left here, or while we were here, actually, no, before we left on the 19th of May, the 6th edition of Tourism Satellite Account project. The last one was in 2016, is again going through the accounting. How does tourism contribute to the rest of the entire, or to the rest of the economy, in all the other multiple effects it has. We've done it in 2015, launched 2016. We just launched a new one with the help of United Nations Economic Commission of Africa, and that will help us. They are now, actually, as we're speaking, they are in Swakopmund, having capacity building training all the institutions that will help Namibia in getting the statistics, because that's what we need, investors need. We need to feed you real statistics so that they're able then to plan accordingly and looking at the numbers that's there and the movements and the trends that are happening in the industry. And with that as well, we've already started with that effort. We have 15 borders that I call them digitalized or computerized, And for the first time this year, we started producing statistics of the 15 borders almost every month, but we started doing them quarterly, so that at least we're not giving you reports that are 1 year old, but we're giving you real data, which is probably still valid in terms of use for better planning. So those reports of quarterly, we have already produced the first quarter of this year, and that's why my minister can be confident, and he said it, that we are growing, because if we look at the 2020, just below 170,000 arrivals. And now, when we look at the 15 borders for 2021 already, we were up with about 38%. And now, when we're looking at the trends from January, February, and March, the numbers are still increasing. If there's nothing happens in terms of a different shock or another shock, I think we're likely to have a better season this year as well. Okay. Opening up tourism value chain to the youth through the recovery plan. I just want to announce and also share that it's an effort of government to have the young people or the youth involved in tourism. So we will, or Namibia will, host an international event called the Pan-African event, Africa Youth in Tourism Innovation Challenge Summit in Windhoek, Namibia, 27 to 29 July. The reasons are really we're inviting experts from all over the world, and then youth in Namibia and Africa and elsewhere to come, and then experts will be able then to dissect the entire value chain of tourism. The reason is so that they understand where the opportunities are, and they are able to pick up and do some startups or as entrepreneurs. So that event is coming, and we're extending that invite for those who are able to attend to come, and especially those that are funding startups for the young people. I think it's a great opportunity as investors to come and then share, what are you doing, so that the youth can pick up some of these opportunities and partner up with the rest of the other friends or colleagues elsewhere and start businesses there. All right, I just want to summarize this here before I go into the detail, really. There are some industries that you saw the chart there that are developed, but there are industries really that are lagging behind that we require, and we are pushing as government, that the investment come in there. One we want to highlight immediately is the Convention Bureau to push for business events and tourism. It's a destination we can compete with anyone in the world in terms of the quality of infrastructure, whether banking infrastructure, whether telecommunication infrastructure, whether road infrastructure, and the rest of the other infrastructure. So there are opportunities there where private sector can actually partner up with government, whether the investment board or the ministry and other institutions say, well, let's help you establish a convention bureau here and push for business events, because that will lead into other setting up other infrastructure of convention centers in appropriate centers as well for events. Secondly, I want to speak about the medical health and wellness industry as well under the tourism sector. Well, it's not so much developed. There are greater opportunities there in that those that are involved in health and medical industry could actually grab up those opportunities and invest and expand the industry or create industry out of it. Of course, sports tourism, we can't go without sport. African people love sports, and even ourselves in the world who love sports. So sports tourism is one of those. If we were here to have infrastructure in place, not only soccer, there's tennis, there is other sports activities that can take place because we have the infrastructure in there. So if investment is made in there for those that are involved in sports tourism, there is an opportunity in Namibia to invest. And then the cruise ship or marine tourism, yes, we have, of course, I call it limited cruise liners that are landing in Walfish Bay, but there is an appetite really to expand that, because they can expand it having cruise liners coming, leaving Walfish Bay to Cape Town or Mozambique or elsewhere coming, and then you expand the frequency. But above all, we'll share the details that there's also an opportunity under the cruise ship or the cruise liners to create an institute really. I'll share some details as well. Then we have a coastline, about 1.4 along the West Atlantic Ocean, where there are an opportunity for timeshare holiday resorts. Well, there's also a subsector really that's not much expanded. So there's that coastline, beautiful coastline along the Atlantic Ocean, along the beach, and we are saying, for those that are involved in there, they can actually, or those that are involved elsewhere with the timeshare holiday resort, they can actually expand and build some of those facilities. The filming and creative industry. Now, with having these magnificent landscapes, we have, I think, a few other films were done in Namibia, and when you look at them, you are unable to believe that we're done in Namibia. The landscape provide itself for creative industry in Namibia, the filming industry. So we're also saying for those that are involved in there, you are able to take up some opportunities, and then the rest of adventure and leisure travel, just to increase the value of tourism and the value of guest experience as well. Well, I want to now speak about the investment opportunities or areas of investment opportunities in Kavango Zambezi Transfrontier Park. Well, Kaza is one of the largest transfrontier land-based conservation area, spanning over 5 countries in the world. Right, and one part of us, which is the Zambezi region, sits in the heart of that. In these places, it's going to be the best places if everything else done well in terms of infrastructure, investment in terms of tourism, going 5 years, 10 years from here. But it can actually be done much quicker. Well, this is the Kaza map, really, and you can see the Zambezi region there, formerly the Caprivi Strip, sitting almost at the center there of this whole world transfrontier conservation area. So what we are saying is that Namibia go faster, meaning that investors come faster, and whether through Namibia or otherwise, and see what other infrastructure that we can develop right now. So I will share with you some few opportunities. Of course, I'm going to skip this one. Yeah, thank you. So it's one of them. It has been mentioned. It is for us to unlock the potential of the Kaza area. We need an international airport, and we are grateful that has been mentioned. And as tourism will support and will push ourselves to work together to upgrade the current Pacha Airport, which is Katima Mlilo Airport, to international airport, so that we become a transfer center for tourists in the area of Kaza. There lies an investment for those investors in the area. Of course, in international convention, and then other new tourism products. Again, with it, there are other support infrastructure that you can build. Now, imagine having an international airport, all these, a number of people now converging or transiting through Katima Mulilo. You'll need some other support infrastructure. And one of them really is a private hospital, so that it's able then to support the whole issue of rescue and health and safety of the people that are transiting in there. Okay, then there is a Zambezi Waterfront. I think my colleague from NWR will share some details, but we just wanted to share detail that the Zambezi Waterfront sits at the heart of Kaza. So we're looking for a partner to partner up with NWR or the rest of the other partner stakeholders to really make sense out of that investment over there. All right, and then there is opportunity in Cruise Hospitality Institute. Again, as we expand the cruise line industry, we need to have capacity. And there are a lot of young people, whether graduate or non-graduate, but actually we need to be capacitated in that. There's an opportunity alongside the coast, whether Office Bay or Swakopmund or elsewhere along the coast, where we can have Cruise Hospitality Institute established in the coastal area of Namibia. Then the last few opportunities in the protected area. This is the area where the green hydrogen project are. It's that park, Taukaip National Park. You can see how big it is. Again, there are other opportunities that are there in terms of tourism. So to become probably a center of tourism, I was just chatting to the colleagues who I think is Hyphen Company. I was saying as we develop there, we need to think about creating probably a vista and experience center within the hydrogen project in there, because it just warrants, and the environment is just good that we combine, the use of it. So there are a lot of opportunities there. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll just mention few concessions that government has gone out, which means the ministry has conducted tourism development plans, has identified zones, and then the need for investment in those areas. So there are various investments required, whether from accommodation, the route developments, and so forth. These are the routes, the concessions that are there already marked in terms of the national documents that we have in National Tourism Development Plan. And these are I'm just going to run through quickly. Route Direct Peninsula concessions are there. These are the amounts that we need in the whole area. Just want to run through quickly. Rangimun Coastal Mining Concession, they are there, and especially done, and the basis of some of these are actually investors to partner up with the communities, and then, they bring capital and skills, the communities will host then the rights to concessions, and then they can partner up to very create these sub-industries in there and operate these markets. So the rest really are just details and community lodges that are available looking for partners that are there in strategic areas, really. And the details are on here. I'm not going to go through everything, but the presentation will be ready for people really to be able to go in. And they are spread over, whether the south, the central, the coastal line, and so forth and so on. So thank you, Michelle, for the time that you've given me. Thank you for everyone for listening.
Thank you so much. That was our Director of Tourism and Gaming in the Ministry of Tourism, Mr. Chikalu. Thank you so much for those insights and to see how the government is going to really be strategizing for our future, which is fantastic. Now, a man that I'm also very keen to introduce to all of you. He's very passionate about Namibia, and you have really pulled out all the stops, and you are trying your very, very best, working tirelessly to promote tourism in our country. And as the CEO of the Namibia Tourism Board, Mr. Dikhu Ngababeb, please come on up and tell us a little bit more about your promotion strategies.
Yes. Good afternoon to everyone, and honorable ministers, and invited guests, and those following us online, all protocols observed. To start off with, do I have a presentation or not? That's Matthias. So basically, to start off with, the policy position of Namibia is that we are seeking low-volume, high-yield tourists. That simply means we are to position Namibia as a boutique destination. But it is underscored and supported by which that we are having upmarket luxury products, as well as supported by skilled and trained workforce throughout various touch points, be it services, immigration service, police, or customer services or fuel stations. So that is the level at which we are pitching Namibia as the destination. It's not working.
No, unfortunately not. Your presentation.
What happened? We sent it to Joseph. The guy that was working with it. No, the guy that was working with it.
champion of investment and tourism in Namibia. Althaver and List Group crosses across the board in terms of promoting Namibia on all levels, and most recently now has moved into the green hydrogen space. So not only tourism, not only industry, but also in green hydrogen. So without further ado, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, once again, good afternoon, and I think all protocol observed. Simon, I see you were also chased to be fast. I've been asked also to be fast. So I think what I will do to be fast, we will just, you have to put on your headsets just to give you the background who we are. And then I will show you the establishments we have built or currently building. But first look at the video for who we are, for those that have not been here before.
The ONL Group is a truly Namibian company, employing roughly 6,500 people in various industries. These include the advertising, beverage, retail, leisure, fishing, engineering, meat processing, dairy, energy, and fresh produce business sectors, amongst others. The ONL Group emerged in 1919 from the early Althaver and List Bank Commission partnership between Herman Althaver and Carl List. Subsequently, the Althaver and List Finance and Trading Corporation Limited was established in Namibia on 13 May 1923. Today, with its rich legacy of more than 100 years, ONL represents Namibia's largest privately held group of companies, with revenues contributing in excess of 5% to GDP. With its purpose of creating a future, enhancing life, and its vision of being a catalyst for positive change, creating new realities and fulfilling dreams, ONL is committed to enhancing the lives of its employees, its customers, and the society in general. With unwavering determination towards fulfilling its purpose, the company's humble beginnings have not only stood the test of time, but also circumstance. Day by day, year by year, gradually transforming into the successful, flourishing operations we see here and now. The success of ONL can only be attributed to the strategically diversified portfolio of the group that capitalizes on the uniqueness of its values and its culture, and prioritizes the needs, contributions, and unlimited potential of its people.
So, excuse me, I will go fast through the following slides. Once again, I'm really here to endorse what the minister have said, and Zebulon was saying, and Guido will be saying about Namibia. Our strategic positioning as boutique, or I call it also accessible premium, is a very interesting space to operate in, and accordingly we have products developed playing in that field. We have at the moment 4 properties which are in unique positions and all either nearly built or being built at this very moment. We are looking at in total investment of 60 to 70 million US dollar. The interesting part is that we have a big opportunity to sell experiences more. I think, and the minister was saying it from a leader's point of view, one of the historic cities with the Kumanskup and so forth, second largest canyon of the world, and the oldest desert and highest dunes in the world, and the oldest plants in the world. There are so many reasons, or the Kalahari Desert, and also as you mentioned before, the rich parks we have. There's a huge opportunity to sell, really market Namibia. Just show you the properties. This is one property just outside Wintergrove, just built. It's a combined conference and tourism destination, which is far enough and close enough to Windhoek. So, you know, when you have these conferences and people disappear in between, that you will keep them there for companies to have. Secondly, yeah, that's another picture of it. Really, really going in the boutique direction. This is currently being built. It's the new Mukuti, which is completely flattened. We've demolished the whole lodge, and that's the new one. That's the feel and look of it. And that, of course, is the Chobe Water Villas. I always say our employees that work there, that is, they do not work. This is just you live in where the heaven meets earth. The most beautiful place, I think, in the world, tranquil and wild and rich in wild life and so forth. And then the Strand Hotel, which is on the shore, also brand new, or completely modern, not completely new, but it's still very new. That's the feeling how it looks like inside with the seafood. And that's basically it. Again, my job is really here, and I really just want to endorse for potential investors that we have a great environment which we operate. Challenges that we have at the moment, it's clearly, you know, recovering from the pandemic, you know, filling the country again. And I think these last 2 years were one of the worst ever. It is like when you have a shop and you're prepared everything and you just lost the key of the front door. No one can get in. And you're just waiting for that somebody finding that door. That's how the last 2 years were. I think many in the tourism industry have lost a lot of money. And I think we haven't seen the tail of it. And yeah, hopefully there's not another close down coming. But again, I see a very good meeting with the Italian company this morning. Very interesting what they are offering. I think it can really support in Namibia to operate or to help in the line of boutique hotel, can you know, up their quality of food and so forth. So that was very exciting. So it shows you again that there are not only the opportunities of building these establishments, but there's new ways of how we could do and reach our dream of this boutique destination. And I think that's what I was told to keep my presentation extremely short. And Michelle, I hope I met the 10 minutes or even less. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Tima. You are German. You will always be on time. All right, so Mr. Dichu Ngabeb, please would you come on up, the Namibia Tourism Board CEO. Thank you very much.
Let's retry again. Yeah, so that is the part that I sort of verbally told you about. So basically, an upmarket tourism destination where high spenders are to be invited. Obviously, that must be supported by luxury accommodation and very skilled workforce, both at immigration level as well as at employment level within hospitality and tourism industry. That's why it is backed by our mission that we want to sustainably develop tourism, but of course to exceed the visitor experience. And for that, to exceed the visitor experience, you need skills and expertise. And to do that, we need to position Namibia as an all-year-round tourism destination, and we have to achieve the regional spread in terms of our political regions that we operate into, and then, of course, to reduce seasonality. That is to be underpinned by diversified supplier provision as well as demand in terms of the clientele base that needs to visit and frequent Namibia. Just issued World Economic Forum rankings, which is for 2022. Overall, globally, Namibia is ranked number 88 out of 117 countries. At the sub-Saharan African level, we are ranked 7 out of 20 countries. And at our SATAC level, closer to home, we are ranked 4 of the 7 out of the 7 countries that were surveyed. So definitely, in terms of positioning, we are doing well. So there are quite a things that we have done to make Namibia a more competitive destination. If you look at the spread of types of accommodation establishments that we have in Namibia, you would see that basically it is dominated by backpackers, hostels, and guest houses, which are light blue, and of course hostels. So predominantly, you see that there is a mismatch in terms of where we are pitching and positioning our destination as a high-yield low volume destination, yet this supply side, we are offering small accommodation that is more attractive to a budget traveler, so which is mostly comprised of self-catering and B&Bs and guest houses. So we need to do a balancing act in terms of where we are positioning and pitching Namibia as a tourism destination and what we are supplying in terms of the infrastructure for the customers that we are intending to attract. And therefore, the challenge remains. Most of these businesses are in urban centers and not on the tourism grids. So there you have a bottleneck in terms of lodges and accommodation for people who are visiting those places where tourism attractions are. Currently in Namibia, we are only having one five-star hotel. Of course, we don't even have a self-contained recreational resort. And largely, most of our brands in terms of accommodation are homegrown. We don't have international brands because international brands are used by international travelers as point of reference in terms of quality assurance as to the service and provision of quality material. When you are looking at, in terms of regions, how we are distributing, you can see most of the accommodation lies within the Erongo region and Commerce region, Windhoek specifically, and its surrounds. Rest of the country, we have not done much because there is room for improvement in terms of regional spread for us to achieve that. So definitely we need to work on more luxury, high-end traveler demand-related accommodation provision. And of course, the supply of accommodation is disproportional as far as the regional spreads are concerned. When you look at the tourism service industry, you would see again, it is more dominated by tour and safari operators with a blue, and then in yellow, it's your shuttle and transport operators. And then, of course, orange is your booking agents. Again, small, emerging enterprises or smaller in operation. That is what currently is in the supply part of it when you are looking at the demand in terms of the customers that we are supposed to be chasing to attract to Namibia. So therefore, we have limited offerings in adventure, culture, heritage, specialized services like bedding, stargazing, and limited vehicle rentals. Because currently, we are finding in Namibia that a lot of tourists who have been booking are canceling bookings because we simply cannot afford to supply vehicles for rental because Namibia is known to be a car rental and self-drive market. But of course, with the pandemic, most of us have sold about 50% of our fleet, and currently, due to microchips and all those bottlenecks that we are having, there is a waiting period of up to 2 years for a Land Cruiser to be imported from South Africa and converted into a game viewer vehicle. So now that the recovery is there, our supply side cannot cover the demand. So the two are not matching. When you are looking at especially regional level distribution again, now that the recovery is there, the tourism services are equitably distributed the demand, except for your Erongo, Karas, and Kavango East and Kavango West region. When you are looking at especially regional level distribution again, are now that the recovery is there, the tourism services are equitably distributed the demand, except for your Erongo, Karas, and Kavango East and Kavango West region. When you are looking at especially regional level distribution again, now that the recovery is there, the tourism services are equitably distributed the demand, except for your especially regional level distribution again. Now that it seems there, tourism services are except especially regional level distribution. Therefore, our now that it seems there, tourism services and we have been focusing on more our European market, which is the traditional source market. So how do we then get to the next level? We need to work on our supply side, like I said, develop more luxury accommodation, especially in urban centers as well as in rural centers, especially where you have the tourism nodes in terms of boutique lodges or accommodation service provision. We need to also look at developing a convention center because probably we are one of the few countries in Southern Africa who doesn't have a stand-alone convention center. And therefore, we cannot host international events because I'm sure even Namibia as a government is supposed to host AU events or SADC events, but because of the limited space, because the largest size that we can set is 1,500 participants or delegates, but that is if you are moving away all the internal structures within the Safari or all Safari Hotel now and Movenpick. But that is the limitation that we have in terms of supply side of infrastructure that we, or facilities that we need to provide. Of course, we need to develop also theme parks. We don't need to have elaborate ones like in Dubai, but definitely if you are to develop your domestic tourism market, which is more driven by activities that they need to attend, these are kinds of things that we need to develop and offer. Of course, I've just made it an idea to say coast and sub-basin region, but of course it is dependent on the investors where they could do research and see what are the innovations and creativity that they could do in terms of developing such kind of infrastructure. Sports tourism is also quite an important one. Therefore, our infrastructure that supports that needs to be developed and maintained and improved. I've just had discussions before I left with Cricket Namibia, who wants to host a World SADC events at the cricket level. Invest also, like I said, in the car rental ventures, of course, culture and heritage offerings. We can also reimagine, diversify our products in terms of looking at self-contained medium-sized resort that we can develop. Definitely NWR has space. Government allows PPP, and that can be options that can be explored with the potential investors that are, because Matthias will be coming after me, and then we will probably look at those ideas, because it's just innovation and creativity and studies that one needs to do. We need to design a well-crafted community and cultural projects. Although we have it, currently it's just at community level where people have not also been trained in terms of how can they develop and move that from the concept stage into a venture and become eventually an enterprise. So that is an opportunity where investment or social, let's say a social investment or development in space or funding can come in. And of course, the need experiences such as adventure products need to be developed. We also need to work on the demand side. Of course, the domestic tourism, we can work on it in off-peak seasons. We must develop intra-Africa travel, but of course that needs to be based on research data, and of course we need to also remove travel restrictions, because currently quite a number of African countries need to have visas before they are traveling to Namibia. So those barriers need to be improved on. I am on the understanding that the government is currently working in an immigration act that needs to be modernized. So we need to diversify also our international source markets to include North America, because currently North America is more based for trophy hunting, but of course the leisure and holiday segment can do much on that. China, United Arab Emirates, Baltics and Nordics, informed of again by research, and we can also embrace cruise liners as well. Again, we need to look at the service side as well, not when we look at the demand. That is empowerment interventions in terms of funding opportunity for entrepreneurship development. We can look at customer service training and upskilling our workforce, and of course to embrace the digital divide with the COVID. Definitely there is a need for us to train from short to medium term people into digital marketing space and transitioning to online bookings and skills such as content creation for us to be able to market our products better on online platforms. That could be an area that needs quite some sort of investment in terms of training or funding rather. Of course, we need to look at the culinary arts and chef training. Like I said, we want to venture into United Arab Emirates. These people are more fond for halal. So your supply side or your demand supply side must also provide the type of culinary experiences. And of infrastructure side, we can open up our air access. I'm made to understand this morning that there are quite a lot of work that has been done on bilateral air services. Again, ease of the visa regime. And to bring you at the end, we invite you to Namibia, and you would be endlessly inspired. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ticho. That was the inspirational message from our CEO of Namibia Tourism Board, the regulator and promotions board for the tourism in Namibia, and working very tirelessly there. Now, from our public sector, we have none other than Dr. Matthias Ngongwama. He is the Managing Director of Namibia Wildlife Resorts. Thank you for joining us today, and we'd love to hear your message.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Honorable Ministers, esteemed audience here and those following us online. I just wanted to say that most of the things I will be talking about, obviously being a last speaker, has been highlighted, but I will just try to consolidate. Like I was introduced, I work for a company, Namibia Wildlife Resorts, known as NWR. We have the privilege, like Mr. Chikalo have said, to operate in the protected parks. By law, by act, Namibia Wildlife Resorts have that privilege to operate in the beautiful national parks we have. And that means that then there is a lot of opportunities still available to partner with us through PPP or various means. There is still a lot of opportunities available for investments. And this afternoon, I will be just trying to highlight some. But like I said, the tourism industry is one of the industry which is not yet fully developed. It is still unharnessed, and therefore there is still a lot of investment opportunities available. The one opportunity I will be talking about, Mr. Chikalo have also touched about it when he talked about the Kaza, Kavango Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area. There is one opportunity there which is called Zambezi Waterfront Tourism Park. That investment is available since yesterday. It's available as we speak. It's a very currently, there are infrastructure there, as you see on the left corner there. But this infrastructure needs to be elevated to a level of really international standards. Like Mr. Chikalo have said, that area, looking at the map there, is a huge market in terms of Zimbabwe, Victoria Falls, or Zambia. Victoria Falls also a big attraction in SADC. Botswana, Okavango Delta. So that market for Zambezi Waterfront Park, which is there, somewhere there where it is indicated Namibia in the far northeastern corner of Namibia, that is where that opportunity is. It has access to a big market in terms of those countries there. And there is already huge tourist attraction there, like I said, in terms of Victoria Falls, and also Okavango Delta. So anybody investing that facility, obviously the return on investment have to be sooner, can be able to get return on investment. I see Mr. Time is smiling because Chobe Falls, that is also where that facility is. It's a beautiful area, it's a wetlands, and it's a lot of attraction there. So really this is, I wanted to highlight this. It is available. We need to do something in terms of elevating that opportunity to realize it, to give return on investment to the country. Also, we operate a facility, beautiful facility called Grossbarmen Resort. Very, very beautiful, renovated, introduced in the market in 2014, relatively still new. Now, the attraction there is the hot spring, the natural hot spring. Now, this hot spring currently, it's really just there. It's really not so developed to achieve its potential it can have. And this is where the issues of a wellness center comes in. I think Mr. Chikalo used, I don't know, hospital kind of an idea, but it's a wellness center. So it can also fit for sports tourism, because we are told that this hot spring is very good for sports recovery, for example, for sports injuries, sports recovery, and so on. It's even good for skin and for the health of people. So We currently run a 50-room accommodation facility there, but the issue of the hot spring is really not fully, I don't want to say exploited, but harnessed, not fully harnessed. So we need some kind of like PPP arrangements or even expression of interest to be able to say, how can we fully develop this facility to give a return to the country, to utilize that hot spring. By the way, it's only not Grossbarmen where there is a hot spring. We also have at Ice at near the border with South Africa, we have also a natural hot spring. The hot spring is there, but you need to harness it to provide potential which it have. So where you talk about sports tourism, wellness center, all those type of things, it fits there. Namibia is a very, the distances is very long. So when tourists come, they need some kind of like relaxation, you know, like this massage and the spa treatment and those type of things. So this is what I'm talking about, Grossbarmen. There is an opportunity there which we can go together with NWR. It was also mentioned NWR being operating in the national parks. Obviously, there is still areas which is not fully developed. For example, like I can talk about like in Okauqueyo, we operate 100-room accommodation facilities there, but most of the time you will find the facility is fully booked because it is popular. It is in one of the prime spots. The water hole is an attraction. So always fully booked, but you still need to get tourists who want to come and experience there. So there is an opportunity there in terms of expansion to make it big, to allow more visitors to come to that. So this is one of the opportunity I'm talking about. You also have in the Namib Naukloof Park, we run a place called Sauces Dune Lodge. It's also very, very popular, like now. Very, very popular, always fully booked, but it's only a 25-room facility. So there are opportunities there for expansion to allow more visitors to come and enjoy the beautiful protected areas we have. So really here the key is there are opportunities in the national parks, which we by law operate, and you can partner with us to try to see how we can fully develop that potential. Also, it was mentioned, even by Digu, what he called themed parks at the coastline. This is one. These opportunities are also available. We have the camping sites at these various places. There are 3 places, actually 4 places. Currently, they are basic. It's just basic camping site. But like it was mentioned, we needed to fully develop these to maybe international standards, to be able to attract more tourists, to be able to contribute more to the GDP of the country. So it cannot just be basic, like as you see some of those pictures there. We need to partners to be able to work with us or work with the government to fully develop these areas to the potential they have. Really, currently, they are really underdeveloped. We are just running a basic camping facilities. We can put up more investment opportunities in there. I'm afraid that is the end of my presentation. So basically, I presented 4 investment opportunities, and maybe very important, the contact. If you want to hear more about this, my contact details is there, but the colleagues also from the Namibia Investment Promotion Development Bank, you can also contact them, or even the Ministry of Environment. So you can contact me there, and then we can take it further. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. That was our Managing Director of Namibia Wildlife Resorts. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've had a wonderful discussion today about the tourism recovery in Namibia. We've heard from our Honourable Minister, Minister Cheetah. We've heard from our policymakers, our regulators and promotions board, We heard from the public sector operating in Namibia, as well as our private sector through Untitled List. Now, I implore you, although there is an overriding philosophy here that we all need to collaborate, all the stakeholders in Namibia, whether it's public or private sector, I just implore you from a personal perspective that each and every one of us out there in Namibia becomes an ambassador for Namibia, really drives the positivity of our country and not focusing on the negativity. We need to really drive this so that our image of Namibia out there to the rest of the world, and the reason why we're here in Davos is all about that. We want to instill trust and respect in our country, and in order to do that, each and every one of us really needs to go out there and be our own ambassadors for Namibia. So from all of us here in Davos, thank you very, very much for joining us, to all our listeners, and we look forward to having you again on another one of our panels and to witness all the wonderful work that we're doing here on behalf of Namibia at Namibian House. Thank you for joining us today.